Hi guys, so this is part 2 of solving linear equations. With this video, we're going to focus on solving linear equations with variables on both sides. So let's go ahead and get started with number 1. So you can see with number 1 that we have a negative 4x on this side of the equation and a negative 7x on this side of the equation. So what we want to do is figure out, well, where do I want to move that? Do I want to move the variables to the left side of the equation or to the right? It actually doesn't matter. Typically, students like to move the variables to the left side of the equation because they just are used to seeing the variable on the left side. But again, it doesn't really make a difference. Some students will try to move the variable so that when they move it, it makes it positive instead of negative. But again, it really has no bearing. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and move the 7x. So by adding 7x, so this is a minus 7x, I'm going to add 7x to both sides. Now I do recommend moving the variable first before moving, let's say the negative 16 or the minus 4, just so you have that variable isolated to one side. So then this is going to give me 3x minus 16 is equal to negative 4. So now I'm back to just a two-step with the variable on one side, so I can go ahead and add 16. And then that will give me 3x is equal to 12. And then I can go ahead and, let me just clean that up a little bit. Then I can go ahead and divide both sides by 3 because 3x means 3 times x, and the opposite is division. So that would be x is equal to 4. Now again, you can check this by taking the 4 and plugging it into all of the x's in the equation and making sure the left side equals the right side. Again, for this video, I'm not going to do that, but that's how you could check if you needed to. All right, so number 2, not only do we have variables on both sides, but we also have this distributive property here. So I would definitely go ahead and take care of that distributive property first before we go do anything. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute this 2 to the 5x and the 7. So that's going to give me negative 26 plus 2x is equal to 10x plus 14. So now the problem looks like number 1 after we went ahead and did a distributive property. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this time the variable to the right side just to show you it really doesn't make a difference. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract that 2x. Plus, when I do that, it keeps the variable positive. So then that leaves me with negative 26 is equal to 8x plus 14. So now I want to move the 14 over to the other side. So we're going to do the opposite. So I'm going to subtract 14. And that gives me negative 40 is equal to 8x. So now I want to get the x by itself. So I have 8x, which is multiplication. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8. And then that gives me x is equal, oh, excuse me there, fix that, is equal to negative 5. And again, whether I write it this way or if I write x is equal to negative 5, it doesn't make a difference. It means the same thing. All right, now this last one. So you can see we got a lot more going on. We have the distributive property twice on either side of the equation. So let's go ahead and take care of that first. So we're going to distribute the 8, and then we're going to distribute the 5 on this side of the equation. So that gives me 8 times 1, and then minus 32x, because I have 8 times negative 4x, is equal to, I have this 2x here, 5 times minus 6x is negative 30x, and then 5 times negative 4 is minus 20. So now if you look, you can see I have like terms on one side of the equation. And this is where students get confused a lot. They'll combine the x's on opposite sides as if they were like terms. But that's just not true. You can't do that. So on the same side of the equation, which is on this side of the equation, if I have x terms, then I can go ahead and combine those. Just as if I had 2 constant terms, I can combine them. But you can't do that if they're on opposite sides. That's when you have to do the opposite property to move it over. So if you had addition, you would subtract it to be moving it over to the other side. So I can go ahead And do the like terms, 2x minus 30x is negative 28x, and then minus 20. So now it's like problem number 1 after we did a couple of steps. We just have 2 terms on either side. So I'm going to go ahead and this time I'm going to move the 28x over to the other side, even though it's going to make the x term negative, it's okay. So that gives me 8, and then I have negative 32x plus 28x is minus 4x is equal to negative 20. So now here, I want to get rid of this 8. Now it's a positive 8, so I have to subtract it, both sides. And again, students sometimes get that confused. So that leaves me with negative 4x is equal to negative 28. Don't lose this sign here. Sometimes students forget that too. So you gotta be careful with the signs as you're bringing down everything. So now this is negative 4x, which is multiplication. So I'm gonna divide both sides by negative 4. And then that gives me x is equal to 7. And of course, you could plug that in to the original equation to make sure the left side equals the right side. All right, well, hopefully this helps you with solving linear equations with variables on one side and with the variables on both sides.